Distraction.
My you have to contort themselves to fit in the organization. So
All right, everyone, welcome. I see people are coming on into the stream. Thank you, thank you. It is Thursday, August 18th. It's going to be a hot one, y'all. 92 degrees. There is a weather advisory, so please stay hydrated, stay cool. Also, don't forget to take care of your pets. Don't leave your kids in the car either. We've got a great show for you today. My guest will be Anthony Ives, the Executive Director of KCR. Let's go ahead and give him a round of applause and bring him forward. How are you doing?
Silly. You're so silly, Marwan. That's funny.
How are you doing?
You know, I told you I was nervous being in front of you, and your crowd. But yeah, I'm here, so I'm doing great. Thanks.
All right.
Marwan. How are you doing?
You know what? I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm trying to stay cool. Like I said, you're a natural. You're in the commercial. I don't know if you saw it when it was playing earlier.
I didn't. I was looking at, hey, KPHD. Hey, there's the Dr. Gibbs. Oh, hey, there's Kendall. That's what I was looking at. Everybody else, right?
Yeah, we've done a lot of shows. Just trying to connect people and try to give people information where they're not hearing it second, third hand, and give it to them in a space where they can interact in a timely manner. Because oftentimes when they hear it, it's like, oh, if I had just known that last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever the case may be. So just trying to connect people, and this is the platform we have. So we appreciate you being here. And so we're going to go over a few things today so the audience knows. One, we want to check in with the executive director and just see what's been going on with KCR, in the month of July and August, and where the organization is going coming up here in September. But we want to get into that community needs assessment. And there's questions that have already been filtered into me because folks knew that KCR was coming on. And so they were like, please ask when they're on about the community needs assessment. So that's really awesome. So if you don't mind, why don't we just start with that and just kind of recap July for us, if you will, for KCR.
First of all, Marwan, nobody calls me Anthony except my mom, okay? All right? And that's usually when she's grabbing my ear, okay? So let's be clear. KCR, July. I'm kind of put June and July together because I had the chance to go travel and see my own family, and that was great. During COVID, it's been hard to travel anywhere, and so finally, just seeing family again and old friends, was important and rejuvenating. So July has been a month. I feel like at KCR, every month is a month of transition because we just push forward. We move forward, and we're out in the community always, and specifically the building right next door, Marvin Williams, working really closely with them now, and it's great. We launched our needs assessment at the Juneteenth festival in June, but that was a soft launch, and it really started taking off in July. And so we were trying to focus on that and on the partnerships that we created to implement that. That's both on the community level and on the service provider level. But aside from that, we're in the fight. We're in the thick of it. That includes housing and unhoused. As you know, Matt, our director of housing, he's with you every week, so you know what's going on. We're in the fight. So, oops, sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
Well, I think that's a pretty good recap. Why don't we get into the community needs assessment since you mentioned it? So there was a soft launch back in June, and to me, from what I understand, this thing rolled out even better than what you anticipated, right? As far as people that have already completed the assessment, how many people have already completed this thing?
Do you know what? So I was told by a friend of mine at Fishline to temper my expectations, and she has a real deep background in data and needs, and but I like to try to be optimistic, and I was told if we had 500 respondents, then that's a good thing. As of 4 days ago, we had just about 3,000.
Well,
And
6 times the amount.
and it's across demographics and across the county, and it's very interesting to see the data. So the one part of the data was where you live and where you work. I'll give you an example. Bainbridge Island had maybe 650 respondents, but a lot of those folks that responded live there but don't work there, and that's across demographics, and it's just interesting to see. I'm not going to try to analyze it right now. What we're trying to do is really gather the sample size, know where we have to focus, and then do focus groups with 5-10 people or families, and those are more conversations than which are qualitative than they are survey prep, and then do even deeper outreach. I've got so many stories to tell you, Marwan, but I want you to direct this conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get some of the questions out of the way, and then let's get into some of those stories. So, folks have been asking, how will this data be used? So you're going to collect all this data. You thought you were, optimistically, folks are saying, hey, you might get 500. You're already at 3,000, and there's still months to go. So how is this data going to be used?
There's 6 weeks to go. We're going to run this to the end of November, and the reason we did that is school starts back up, right? And so hopefully some of the families are going to be involved. The school districts are involved with helping us do outreach to families, especially Central Kitsap School District and the Bremerton School District. So let me just back up and talk about some of the partners.
Sure.
So Kitsap Public Health, ourselves, United Way, Kitsap Strong, Bremerton Housing Authority, Kitsap Community Foundation, and Bainbridge Island Community Foundation, Molina Healthcare. It's very interesting. Molina was doing an outreach at our KCR office in Port Orchard. This was maybe 2 weeks ago. I just happened to be there. I just happened to come in, and and I saw them, and I went up and talked to them. They were giving away phones for lower income residents, and I said, hey, how about the survey? And and they said, "Oh yeah, let's promote it." And then they put me in touch, myself and Chelsea. Chelsea is our program manager, with their community outreach person. And right away they said, "Oh, we want to be a part of this. How can we support you?" And it was great because now not only are they giving away phones at a lot of events, including one this weekend over at the Port Orchard Airport, the Lumberjack Festival, but they're also pushing the survey as well. And the more data that we get, the more each organization can use it to their benefit. For example, we're not healthcare providers, right? KCR, we do a lot of different things, but Melina looks at the data in a different way than how we look at it. Kids of Public Health as well. They ask very specific questions because they helped us put the survey together, and they're going to use aspects of the survey that maybe mean more to them than it does to us. Kids Up Strong. Well, they've been doing resiliency surveys for a few years now, and they asked us to put in a couple of questions as well. So different organizations are going to use it differently. For us, Marwan, we do a lot of programs here. We do housing and unhoused programs. We do weatherization and energy and WIC and Head Start, which is huge for us, right? And financial education and business education. I go to places, Marwan, and people don't even know who we are. It still happens, right?
That's amazing.
Across all demographics.
That's
People
amazing.
have never heard of KCR, even though we've been here for 55 years. So number one, the survey hopefully will help us identify not only what the needs are, but the respondents understand what we do. And then the second part of that, when all is said and done, we go back and start targeting. Okay, here we are. Here is a community where we work. These are our partners, which is even you, Marwan. Everybody's our partner. We're trying to be the nexus and facilitate partnerships. And because we can't all do it alone, right? We have to do it together.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
That was probably too much, Marwan. But
no, that's perfect. That's perfect. And one thing in there that you mentioned was identifying folks that don't know about KCR and all the programs that they offer, right? I mean, that's such a great opportunity to let them know, hey, there's help and there's assistance here and resources. So tap in.
I'm going to give you one example of that. Well, I have several examples, but one is pretty clear. We know that in the WIC program, there are at least 2,000 families that aren't taking advantage, and they qualify. So we get the word out, just push it out there and let people know. And that money flows through us, and it's worth it to benefit from it if you can. Okay.
And folks say numbers. When you think about 2,000 families, even if that was one parent and one child, we're talking about 4,000 people, right? But it's families are often larger than that. 2,000 is a lot of families.
Yes, sir.
So, I don't want to understate the numbers, because we're always talking about numbers. Like, that's a phenomenal amount of folks that could be getting services in this county. So that's really big. So you were talking about how you're partnering with all these agencies, and even some of the agencies had input on how the questions were formed, what questions were asked. Can you, maybe help, maybe like an organization like myself, what might that data mean to me when they were formulating these questions and they were saying, we want to get this out of this assessment? Can you share with them so that other organizations may say, okay, once I get this data, this might be how I can look at it, and I can improve my organization and better serve my community and my clients?
Number one, Marwan, we're KPHD, Kids of Public Health. They are doing the dashboard for us, and the data isn't going to be proprietary. We're going to make it open for everyone to access. It's a big deal. And that's why if the sample size is large enough and if it's cross a demographic, then the data becomes significant, and hopefully we build on it and identify trends, and also strategic plan, and how to move forward. So you asked me the question of what does it mean to each agency? So for ourselves, I'll speak for myself, for Kitsap Community Resources. By charter, first of all, let me back up. We're community action agency, and community action agencies were created by the Johnson administration back in 1965. And the whole idea was help alleviate poverty and build sustainable communities, really. And maybe that mission and vision is changing and adapting to our current situation. So here we are, KCR, doing all this work, and we are supposed to have a community needs assessment completed every 3 years or so. So we're behind on that, and this is our third year, and we thought it was important that we do the needs assessment more from the grassroots level than the service provider level. I'll tell you a story. I was at Kitsap County, or Central Kitsap School District up off of Wheaton Way. And I met with a couple of families, and they said to me, everybody comes to us and asks us, take a survey, but nobody ever asks us what we need. So that question stuck in my head, and that's how we approach this. So we really approach it from a grassroots level, asking families what they need, and also from a service provider level. So for us, okay, we know housing is not going to get easier. We know this. We all know it. The unhoused situation here in Kitsap County, it's problematic. And maybe we identify trends, and maybe we discover innovative solutions to help alleviate this problem. So the same can be true with Head Start. Head Start during COVID, it was difficult. Our attendance dropped down, and even our teachers, because our staffing shortage. Everybody has issues here. For us, we're trying to identify trends, Marwan, so we can develop a more comprehensive strategy, a strategic plan going forward. And we hope to do that, at the beginning of the first quarter to 2023.
So is that when the dashboard information will be available?
Yes, sir. Hopefully, I'm not going to put a date on this, but the very first quarter of 2023. The real thing is the qualitative data. That takes time to understand it. I'll give you an example of that.
Sure.
So right before this great Zoom meeting here, Marwan, with you, I had a meeting with an organization called Culturally Speaking, and the director there, her name is Ruth. Wonderful. And they have a great program manager. His name is Otto. Speaks Mom, right? Spanish speaker, speaks Mom, and they're gonna help us facilitate the survey. But more than that, a focus group, or several focus groups. One of them in this particular community. So we were talking about processes and how it works and what we can do, and have a conversation with people, not just take a survey. And how would that work, right? But the importance of that is there are a lot of folks here in Kitsap County that nobody really talks to or has a hard time reaching out to. But all of a sudden, it seems like we have these connections that have appeared. Not without work, but
I think that's been a benefit of COVID. Matt was talking about this yesterday, and we were talking about all the negativity that is surrounding COVID and how it's impacted businesses and families. But one good thing that he was mentioning was that it really has galvanized many of the community leaders and organizations to find new ways to collaborate and grow and really serve the community. And so that really has been a benefit. There's a question in the chat, so I want to jump to that.
Well, your question, how will it be shared? The dashboard will be made available online. We'll have it. KPHD will have it. We're not quite sure how it's going to look at the end, but the data will be available so you can dig down into it. Okay.
So let me follow up on that question then. So when that does come out, let's say, toward the end of first quarter of next year, is KCR maybe gonna put something out in a webinar, or maybe come on the conduit and share the information out?
Yeah, actually, that's a great idea. We want to share it. We
Yeah.
want everybody to know. We don't want, this isn't a one-off situation. We're not just going to collect data from you and walk away, okay? Nor are we going to just collect it, walk away, and put it on a dashboard. We want to be in front of people talking about it, understanding it together, right? Because maybe you see something different than I do, Marwan, okay? So that's our objective, being in the community, not just service providers, talking about what it means and trying to get to a way to solve a problem. So Michael just asked a question. Is there a way to show people an example of how completing the survey enables actual change? That is a great question. Okay. I wish I could tell you the answer to that question. Okay. But I don't have it, because this is going to be a process. I know KCR is going to use this survey to develop a strategic plan. This survey, the data will hopefully give us a roadmap, will enable us to create a roadmap to certain problems, but not just us, because we can't do it all. I know the United Way, they're one of our big partners in this. They want to do the same thing. Maybe figure out a different way to use resources, both financial and otherwise. And I know that's their objective in helping us with this. So that's why the outreach is so important.
Well, Tony, I don't know how feasible it is for you to do so. You're saying it's a great idea to share it out. I want to give you the horn for that for sure. Because we have access to data all the time, but it's like, okay, so what is this saying? What does this mean? What do I do with this? So that's huge. On the other side of it, you're going to create a strategic plan. United Way is going to create a strategic plan. But I think about little small organizations like mine. Well, we don't have the staff and the infrastructure to say, okay, you know what, we're going to craft this strategic plan based on this data. Is it something that you maybe could share with us, how you go about doing that, things that you're looking for? Not that you're coming in and helping little organizations form.
Well, Marwan, that's a good point.
Mhm.
And it's a good question. Marwan, all of a sudden, maybe KCR has a few resources to help with that. So I'm going to backtrack on that, because I didn't talk about what's going on. I didn't talk about this point in KCR, what's going on in July, right?
I like
So
it.
we started a grant writing course, and you know this, right? So there are 10 different folks, BIPOC organizations around Kitsap County that are participating in this course that hopefully, at the end of that 8-week course, each organization will have a grant ready for submission somewhere. But maybe this is the idea too, Marwan, this type of understanding data and how do you use it. Maybe that's where we help. And that's a good idea. I'm going to write it down, okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, and while Tony is writing that down, what's important about conversations like this is there's so many great ideas and things that are going on, and people have their directions that they're going in, but it's like, hey, that's the whole point of communication and building relationship. Because it's, again, well, what do you need, right? So this is something that we might need. Michael says, I love data. I am a data and numbers person, but people need more. People need to see the change. I feel like at least Bremerton is on the verge of real change, and we need to keep pushing. Even small changes give people hope, and that's what we need.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. I just being out in the community, I've only been here for about 7.5 months, but I'm from Kitsap County, and it's just been a while since I've been back. And God, people say change is so hard, but here in Kitsap County, Bremerton and Port Orchard and the other areas, I feel something, and I feel a possibility that change is happening. But the biggest thing about me and Marwan, I think you know this, I'm not a talker. I'm trying to get it done, right? Just do it, right? Let's not talk about it, right? Just find the resources and get it done. And that's how I feel about the survey. It's not data. You can do a lot with data. You can manipulate it. You You can analyze it all day long, but hopefully it helps us put a strategic plan together with some ideas, what we do, how do you get the resources to do them, how do we incorporate our partners around the community to do them, and then go, right? So, Michael, I agree with you, okay? Small changes are huge. So back to, I'm going to keep circling back to what happened in June and July, okay?
Sure, absolutely.
So small changes. It doesn't take a lot of money to do something big. So I was working with the Living Arts Cultural Heritage Project, and one thing led to another. And they have this huge resource of photos and letters and documents that needed to be preserved. Well, with Kitsap Bank and a storage center out, Rancho Storage Center out in Silverdale, we put this together. They sent trucks out to help move stuff so it could be at least preserved right now while we figure out something else. Didn't cost a lot of money. Most importantly, preserving the culture, the African-American culture of Kitsap County is super important. Some of the stuff wasn't stored correctly and some of it was, but at least we could pause on and preserve it for now, for the next year, for the next 2 years, while we figure out something bigger. This is just a small thing, but it's a big thing. So
yeah, it definitely is a big thing. Working with that agency in Akuye, just I don't know my own Kitsap County history, and I'm learning something on a daily basis. Like the downtown library used to be, or I guess technically it's like the MLK library. So I just learned this last week. So there's just so many different things, and it's just fascinating to learn all that. So it's critical.
Do you know what, Marwan? When I was there, when I just went out and looked at some of the stuff it was stored over in Bainbridge Island, but in lots of different areas. Mm-hmm. I saw this ledger of it was an NAACP ledger from like 1935, 1936. It was a treasurer's report from the board meeting, and it was written in beautiful cursive. I mean, just beautiful cursive. And I just sat there and stared at it because it was amazing, and it was so necessary to keep that from harm, Yeah. And that was just one example, frankly. So,
and that'll be a 100-year document here in about 12 years.
Oh, I didn't even think of it like that.
Yeah. So I want to welcome people in. You are watching our interview with Tony Ives, not Anthony Ives. Don't call him Anthony. Executive Director of KCR, Kitsap Community Resources. We're talking to you about the Community Needs Assessment. And what I wanted to do is, and we'll mention this throughout our interview here today, but here is the Kitsap Community Needs Assessment Survey, and you can access that at kcr.org/CNA. This would take you about 15 minutes to fill out. Really super easy. What's great too is it's available in Kurdish, Tagalog, and Spanish, as well as English. So you just click on the one that you want to go ahead and complete the survey in, and it will take you to the next screen here. It'll give you a little bit of information, help us capture community voices. It talks about why it's important, and then you can go ahead and start it there. And it's really pretty simple here. We'll go through it, and that's all you got to do, right? And Tony is telling us how they're going to use the information, how other organizations may use the information, and so it's great. So we just want to welcome in our new people as they are joining us. So yeah, I'm glad that this is like triggering all these great things. I was like, oh yeah, this is happening. This is happening.
So let me just talk about the results so far, okay?
Sure.
And again, this is as of like 1 o'clock on the 15th. So the 15th was that Monday, I guess, right? So zip coding. So Bremerton looks like 98310, okay, 185 folks. 98311, 180. 98312, 251. I mean, it's pretty cool. Gorse has 14. Indianola, 23. Bainbridge, again, 632. Kingston 119. I mean, it's all over the place, and it's because we're working with these partners all over the place. Possible 385. Port Orchard looks like it's close to 400. Frankly,
Oh, nice.
yeah, out in Seabeck and Silverdale. Silverdale's got 200 and change. Down in Southworth, up in Suquamish as well. So
What were the Bainbridge Island numbers?
632.
Wow. And 98337 here in Bremerton?
98337. Let's see. Let me find it. Oh, that's where I am, right? That's my house. 93. Right?
93?
Right. So 93. And so it's a cross demographic, white, Middle Eastern, Native American, African American, and African, things that are combined, right? Some of it is census driven, and some of it is very specific because I asked for it. I made sure that we were trying to reach out to, Middle Eastern folks. The census wants to call them white. We wanted to make sure that that didn't happen, so we split it up, and that way you kind of understand the demographic better and respect, honestly.
So let me ask you this, Tony. You got about 6 weeks left on this assessment, and you already have data that you can already look at. Do you have any plans on saying, hey, we're not hitting this demographic at the level that we're hoping to hit? And so what's your action plan?
With Chelsea, we talk about that. I'll tell you, I actually passed by Kayak, Kitsap Immigration Assistance Center yesterday, because Annika's a friend of mine. Those guys are cool, and they're in it as well. They're one of our partners at KCR, but more than that, they're friends. And I speak Spanish, so I walked in, and Annika saw me. She's in her office, and she had two people there, the husband and a wife. And they were taking this survey, right, in Spanish. So I introduced myself, gave them my card. We were all talking. I said, bueno, que me llaman cualquier tiempo, right? So call me whenever you need to call me. And they were very grateful. So we see demographics that we need to reach out to. That's what we're trying to do. Talked to Pastor Johnson a few days ago, and he's pushing it. And we're going to go have lunch. The Filipino community, I'm meeting with the board on Sunday, but they're the big event that they're going to do on Saturday. They're going to push it. So the deal is, man, it's not just our partners, it's our friends, right? And that's how I like to think about people that we work with, Marwan. So
I love that.
So we look at this data here, that data side, the zip codes, okay, and the demographics and where we need to go. Okay, this is the first real look that we have at 3,000 people. So now we're devising the strategy of what to do. And that includes the focus groups. Okay, where do we need to go and what do we need to do? Last night there was a meeting with the Homeless and Housing Alliance, right? And there was someone, her name is Sophie. She was on the call from Bainbridge Island. We deal a lot in this process of housing, and they're about to do a survey as well. Reached out to them right away. I said, okay, maybe we can work together and understand the situation on Bainbridge Island as well. So we can't do it by ourselves. We work with everybody, and we work with our partners and our friends.
So how can those that are watching, how can they help get the survey out there, and what language can they use to help promote the survey?
So I think you mentioned it's in 4 languages right now, and if we could actually put this in another language, I have to give a big shout out to the Department of Commerce, because they did all the translation for us, and right now we're trying to work even tweaking the survey a little bit. So we're working with the Suquamish tribe and trying to tweak a couple of questions just to get it even a little bit more specific and in a certain demographic where you work and where you live. So right now it's English, Spanish, Kurdish, Tagalog, and I've done it in Spanish. I've done the survey in Spanish. It's interesting, and I know it takes longer in another language. The story I told earlier about mom speakers takes really long, maybe 25, 30 minutes. So we have to find a way to facilitate that. And because still it's important. And people, they have things to do. They have kids, they have lives, right? They have families. And so maybe we can break that survey up. Not sure, just trying to figure it out. But it's important to finish it. And there's another interesting point. In the data, we can see how many people started the survey and how many people didn't finish the survey. So for the most part, it's 85% or 87% are finishing the survey. But what about the 13% that didn't, and why? So
well, that begs the question. That begs the question.
It's a great question. We've just
started.
Can you
log back in?
What's that?
Can you log back in?
So that was Marwan. That was asked to me this morning.
Really?
And I don't know. So I reached out to I'm reaching out to the public health to see, because I don't know. I finished it, but how do you go back in if you can? So we'll see. I wish I could tell you now, Marwan, so we could answer the question, but I can't. Yeah. So.
Well, I'll tell the audience as soon as I have that question, I will relay that out to everyone else. And of course, I will be promoting this over the next 6 weeks. So it sounds like one of the things that we can do as individuals or agencies is, if we have the time, sit and help people to complete the survey and answer questions and work through any technical issues they might have, since if it's in a different language, there could be, it's going to extend the time to complete the survey. So that's one thing that we could do.
And frankly, Marwan, a lot of folks don't have access to a laptop or to internet access, right? Or it's difficult. So that's why we have people around the community, including United Way, that have 211 that will do the survey for you. You know, you just pick up
really?
Yep, 211, and they'll walk you through in multiple languages. So the United Way has been very supportive, and it's a big deal. So you call 211 and say, you know, whatever language you'd like to complete the survey in, and they'll walk it through or find somebody to facilitate that.
Wow. Okay. See, this is the first I've heard of that. That's huge. That's huge, right? So now someone can call in the comfort of wherever they're at and talk through their answers and have 211 complete the survey. So their voice is recorded and connected. That's a big deal.
So if you're at the barbecue or the Filipino Community Center on Saturday and you're a little bored, pick up the phone, call 201. If you're at the Lumberjack Festival, or if you're out in the Suquamish looking at the canoeing race this weekend, pick up the phone and call United Way, or go onto your phone and just complete it. So
that is huge. So what language can you give to us to let people know, like, hey man, there's this survey out here, it's about 15-20 minutes, and this is going to benefit you? What can we say to let them understand that this would be a benefit to them and their family?
I'm trying to do my elevator speech here, right? So we're a service provider, but we're more than that. We're in the community, and we work for the community, and we're here to serve. So we recognize there are a lot of needs, but maybe we don't cover all those needs. But maybe we can work together to solve the problems and solve the issues, or work towards sustainable solutions for that. What this survey does, what it will allow us to do, and not just us, other organizations, is to more closely identify needs and match their strategic plans to their financial resources, and work directly with the communities in order to do this. So ultimately, that is the goal. I'll tell you, we get calls all the time. Our staff is on the front line, especially with housing, and it hurts. It hurts to see. And it hurts to hear every single day. But these problems aren't easy to solve. But by working together, hopefully by identifying the needs of you, Marwan, and myself, and anybody else in the community that takes it, we can better understand the right direction to take. And again, not just us, but other organizations.
Well, let me roll out a long question for you. When you mentioned that 98337 had about 95 folks fill out the survey. Now, of course, KCR is in 98337, Olympic Colleges, Bremerton Housing Authority. There's a lot of businesses, right? This is kind of like just outside the downtown area. My business is in the 98337. I live in 98337. And right now, one of my biggest pieces of advocacy is for the folks that are experiencing homelessness on MLK. And so my concern is, with great representation in Bainbridge Island, 600, and Poulsbo in the hundreds, that data isn't going to be captured. And it's not just those experiencing homelessness, but those that are uh, property renters and homeowners that are in and around that area that have challenges working with the homeless population there. And they may get missed in this data, but their voices really need to be heard, right? The renters, the homeowners, those experiencing homelessness, the business owners. Is there something that we can do to
I'll,
increase?
I'll tell you. So for a while before I got here, I was a regional census manager, and Kitsap County was just one of the counties. I managed like 8 counties, including South Seattle, and I was one of the leads in the it's called group quarters, so the unhoused and colleges, that kind of thing. I know Kitsap County pretty well, and my experience and running a project like the census is go to the stores, go to the churches, go talk to the store owners. So recently, I'll just give you an example of this grocery outlet. They're helping us facilitate the survey in all 3 stores: Silverdale, Bremerton, and Bainbridge, or Port Orchard. And it was amazing. They were doing a program where you put in $5, you get a coupon, but that $5 is being used to pay for someone who didn't have enough money, right? That kind of thing. And so I was listening to the person. I said, oh, okay. I said, hey, your clients are our clients, right? And let's work together. And they were all in. They said, okay, and go here, go here, go here. So we're just not in churches. We're all over the place. You'll see that flyer all over the place, and just trying to capture that information. So just consider, is Grocery Outlet up there 98337, or is it? Do you know the one right?
That might be moving into 310.
Okay, but again, where you work and where you live, it's all going to be captured in the data. We're trying to capture it. So, and we're trying to go out. I'm going to be at the Lumberjack Festival up in Port Orchard because it's not sponsored. Our food bank, senior center, community center, key center above the peninsula, I'm a board member. So I'm always there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But with Molina Healthcare, we're just going to be, hey, take the survey. And again, why is the survey important? Well, this is why. And I could do the speech in a lot of different ways in a couple of different languages, right? But because I believe in it, and I believe in the part that service providers didn't put it together. They helped, but we went out to the community and listened and tried to put some questions there. And again, I circle back to that original thing in Central Kitsap. No one ever asked us what we need, right? You guys just survey us.
Right. Michael had a comment. He said, after
I see that comment, Michael. I see it. And maybe there's a way to solve that because it's important. And again, that conversation just happened this morning with Culturally Speaking. So I'm going to reach out to KPHD and ask them about that as soon as this is over. And I wish I could figure out how to facilitate that answer, Marwan, with you. But maybe you can pass on the information.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, once you let it out, I'll probably do some short form, 5-6 minutes, talk about the survey, and then update folks on information as it comes in. And then understand everyone out there in audience land, it's always an opportunity for learning, right? So it's like, all right, we did this survey. This is how we can do better next time. When we do it in 3 years from now, maybe there's a code that a person gets.
So that's a good point. Let me back up. So when we when this idea came to pass, okay, we had to do a survey. It's by charter. We had to do a needs assessment, right? And so United Way called me and said, "Hey, Tony, why don't you run this like the census?" I said, "Hey, that's a good idea." We went right over to the health district, and they were talking about this. Hey, we need to do one too, and maybe we just build on this one. And we all sat at the table and we were talking about learning, not just from mistakes, but what worked, what didn't. What data did we capture? What needs to be captured? And where are we going from there? So the idea for other organizations to use this type of model, a community-driven approach, to actually do it better the next time. So,
Well, I guess that brings me another question. Is there a space that after this is over for agencies to give their thoughts on, hey, questions they might have wanted to see if they weren't part of that planning committee on coming up with the questions?
yeah, that's actually a really good point. And in fact, that's why I said we're going to tweak the survey just a little bit right now, because we can, but we're too late to change. We're too late in the day to like do any drastic changes. But additional questions, I gotta tell you, Marwan, you get service providers in a room. I mean, we had like over 100 questions. I said, "Look, I can't even finish this. All right, what make you think my grandmother's going to finish it, right?" Because
We survey.
10 questions, right? And okay, so like we got to keep it manageable, and we kind of had a fight about it, but in the end, it was the right decision. So there are other questions out there. We know there are. We know that there are questions maybe that should be more community driven, that need to be asked. But here we are, all of a sudden, we have these community partners. And hopefully, as they say in Spanish, you create this confianza, this trust, that people can start talking about this, right? And it's not something that is nebulous, that don't see. It's survey and survey world, and it sits on somebody's website. That's not what I want, and that's not what KCR envisions, nor the United Way. We want to be able to not just use it, but help, because that's the objective. Go back to the communities, present it. Maybe that's the forum, Marwan. When we go back, what did we do wrong? What can we do better? Maybe that's the forum.
Well, if you want to come on and do short forums and, say, okay, this time we're going to talk about what we could do differently. This time we're going to talk about the data, and then folks will be able to access that. And they kind of have a tome to kind of work from. Michael says, with social media, it would be great to add a share to Facebook or Twitter or any of the others once someone completes the survey.
I think you're cool, Michael. I don't know you, but you're giving great ideas. That's share to Facebook. All right, I'll check it out.
And again, it's a testament to the inclusiveness of that diversity of thought and ideas, right? It's like, hey, what about this? Well, didn't consider that. Well, maybe we could try that. So that's huge. I wanted to ask you, Tony, this obviously isn't the first time that KCR has done a community needs assessment. It was before your time. Did you happen to look at the past assessment, and what were your things from the outcomes from that, and what was different that you were like, okay, this is good, but we're going to do this, or we're going to build on that?
The biggest comment I have to make is the sample size, and also how the data was collected. And it didn't seem broad enough to me. There were certainly trends that were identified that still exist: housing, mental health, and physical health, and other things. But that survey was done pre-COVID, and the world has changed, and Kitsap County has changed, and it'll just be interesting to see, or maybe just reaffirm what we've already seen and know, but to see it by zip code and to see where people's concerns are, because we didn't do that before either. Didn't divide it up that way.
Wow.
We're going to see an entirely different picture than KCR has ever seen.
And when was that assessment?
Well, it says 2020, but it was really 2019 that it was, the data was done, and and it was just finished, the assessment beginning of 2020. So looking at it, you know, it was as far as needs assessments go, it was nice, but this one's going to be much more robust.
Well, one thing I want to do is give you your flowers while you're here, because I run an agency. I'm 2 blocks away from you. I didn't hear about the assessment back in 19 and 20.
Yeah,
And
that's amazing in itself.
Mhm.
Okay, but Marwan, look, right, and the times they are changing, right? Come on. So that's why there is an opportunity here in Bremerton and Kitsap County. I believe it, and so that's why the broader outreach is the best outreach, and talking to community members, churches, the stores, that's the best thing we can do, because it's not just taking a survey, it's developing partnerships and friends. That's what I believe.
Well, and that's why I want to acknowledge that. I think that's important. You have a lot on your shoulders. You're extremely busy. A lot of folks are counting on you and looking towards you to solve some of these issues that may not be solvable. We may just be able to do better than how we've been doing in the past. But you've made such an impact in your short tenure so far at KCR. And so I think it's important to acknowledge it, because a lot of times folks are like, oh, well, this needs to happen, and why isn't this going on? And KCR should be doing this. It's like, he's doing pretty phenomenal so far, and has done a lot in just this short amount of time. So
I don't know about that. We work together as a team here, and in the community, we try to work together. And there's so much work to do, Marwan. So I'm just going to say that.
How modest of you.
And I have to recognize, Marwan, that I fail all the time, okay? And I make mistakes all the time. And I step in crap all the time in this community, right? As you know. But in the end, if we're working together towards a shared vision and a common theme to serve, that's the message.
Well, as we wrap up our hour, what do you want to leave folks with?
My email address. Yeah, reach out to me. You guys don't know, I hand my business cards out to everybody. One time I was with, we work in encampments, right? And one of the commissioners called me and said, hey, let's go down, let's go meet people. And that's what I do. And some of those folks I'm still in contact with, right? Handing out my business card. What do you need? What's going on? How can we better serve? And KCR is here to serve. We do a lot. I encourage everyone that watches this podcast to not just take the survey, but I was just kidding about putting my email out there, Marwan.
Oh, were you?
No, I'm kidding.
Like, my man, I can't take it back.
No, we were going to work together and try not to be siloed. Hopefully, KCR's services will become more integrated in their approach. So you're not just going to WIC, or you're not just going to weatherization or housing, but we're going to be coming together across the organization. And by working with our partners outside, hopefully we have a collective impact.
All right, I love it. I want to share again with everyone how you can access this community needs assessment. Again, that link is here at the bottom of your screen, www.kcr.org/CNA. Again, this is what it's going to look like when you land at that page. It's important to show this stuff, Tony, because a lot of times folks will come back, they'll hear it, and they'll say, okay, it's been a few days, now I'll type it in. Am I in the right spot? So this is what it should look like when you get there. You can just scroll on down, pick the language that fits for you. Go ahead and click on it. I'll click on English this time. Go ahead and take a look and hit next. It should take about 15 to 20 minutes or so. Get a cup of coffee or tea or your favorite beverage or whatever the case may be. Take your time and go ahead and fill it out. Right now, I would err on the side of safety. There may not be a way to go back in and complete the assessment. So try to give yourself enough time to give a full accounting of what's important to you. And again, you can also call 211 and they will actually walk you through filling it out for you. So
Marwan, so I have homework to do. And the first one is, can we go back in? That's the first question. The second one is, how do we help organizations go through the data? And can we offer a class? Okay. And the third one is adding share to Facebook. Okay. So hopefully I'll come back to you with those answers. All right.
That's perfect. And let's see, we got one more thing here in the chat. I'm going to share this survey site to the Kitsap Facebook groups I'm a part of, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So there we go. We're getting the word out. That's awesome. And usually these groups have probably hundreds of people in them. So that's going to get out there, which is perfect. If you've got time, you want to jump on for 5 minutes and just answer those questions, Tony, just let me know and I'll make that available.
All right.
Have that, being present is also really important. I think there's a big sea change in Kitsap County with that too, where executive directors and high-level organizational leaders are really in front of the people. So again, I appreciate you all for that as well.
I'd rather be out in the field than in this office, I must say. So this.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time today. Again, this is the Community Needs Assessment. You have just spent the last hour with the Executive Director, Tony Ives of KCR. Let's go ahead and give him the... and applause. We will have those answers for you, and we will come back and report that out. I am Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. Until next time, everyone.
Thank you. All right.